Right now, the situation remains very fluid. Vice President Biden just spoke with the Prime Minister of Ukraine to assure him that in this difficult moment, the United States supports his government's efforts and stands for the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and democratic future of Ukraine.
And I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. And this is a delicate thing to say to a group of leaders in their House of Parliament, but you have to fight the cancer of corruption.
Congressman Adam Schiff, he's the member of the House Intelligence Committee. You're circulating a letter among your colleagues. You want the United States right now to not only provide humanitarian aid to Ukraine, but also start providing serious weapons, right?
I do, and I think it's overdue. It's plain that Putin has little interest in the negotiations. There was a settlement reached in the fall that Putin has ignored, sending troops as well as hardware, military equipment, tanks, to change the facts on the ground in Ukraine. And I think the only way to bring him to the negotiating table is to show strength, and I think that we ought to provide that assistance, that military assistance to Ukraine as soon as possible.
And you're specifically talking about what? Armored vehicles, anti-tank missiles, maybe anti-aircraft missiles, stuff like that, is that right?
Anti-tank missiles, radar systems so that they can identify where the artillery is coming from that is killing so many civilians. It's going to be necessary to raise the cost to these Russian forces and all the equipment that's flowing across the border. I think that's really the only thing that deters Putin is a show of strength. We have tried time and time again to provide off-ramps. He showed no interest in that. Instead, they want to create a mini-state within Ukraine and permanently destabilize the nation of Ukraine. And I think we need to come to Ukraine's assistance.
I remember, Congressman, when the Ukrainian President Poroshenko was here in Washington back in September, he addressed Congress. He appealed for these kinds of weapons. So why hasn't the Obama administration approved them yet?
Well, and I supported that call back then when Mr. Poroshenko came. I think the administration has been reluctant to provoke Putin, to inhibit the chance for a peaceful resolution. But at a certain point, when you've offered that opportunity for those off-ramps, and the other side has not only made no efforts to de-escalate, but on the contrary, has only further aggravated the situation with new weapons, new material, new tanks, you have to say, okay, they're not interested in this. And I think the point is now well overdue for us to provide this military assistance and ensure that the Russians and these rebel forces don't gain the benefit of territory from ignoring the peace agreement that they entered into.
I'm told this issue of whether to arm the Ukrainian military will be at the top of the agenda when the German Chancellor Angela Merkel meets with President Obama here in Washington on Monday. Do you get a sense that they are going to both jointly approve a major shift and start sending weapons to Ukraine?
I don't know if they will jointly approve that. I think we're still probably well ahead of where the Germans and the French are. But frankly, I think that our commitment to arming Ukraine will assist the French and the Germans as they go to meet with Putin and try to negotiate a cease in the hostilities.
And I think it was far more serious and far more jeopardy for the Ukrainians, the decision of the Obama administration to not use the authority that was given by Congress, that many of you all and many members of the House of Representatives voted for, giving the U.S. government the authority to provide lethal aid to the Ukrainians, and the Obama administration decided not to provide that aid. And multiple witnesses who were called in the House by the House Democrats testified that the United States policy towards Ukraine got stronger under the Trump administration, in part largely because of that lethal aid.
And if, in fact, diplomacy fails, what I've asked my team to do is to look at all options. What other means can we put in place to change Mr. Putin's calculus? And the possibility of lethal defensive weapons is one of those options that's being examined. But I have not made a decision about that yet. Over the past several weeks, we've been working with our partners and with the IMF to build international support for a package that helps to stabilize Ukraine's economy. And today we announced a significant package of our own to support the Ukraine's economy and also to provide them with the technical assistance that they need. So it includes a planned loan guarantee package of $1 billion. It provides immediate technical expertise to Ukraine to repair its economy. And I think I've been very clear that military options are not on the table in Ukraine because this is not a situation that would be amenable to a clear military solution. What we have to do is to create an environment in which irregular forces disarm.
Please understand me correctly. Blankets, night vision goggles are also important, but one cannot win the war with the blankets. Even more, we cannot keep the peace with the blanket.
That we lifted the Obama-era arms ban. President Obama had put in place a ban on the sale of what he called lethal defensive equipment. That ban has been lifted. We did provide anti-tank weapons, javelins, and now we are prepared to treat Ukraine like any other normal country, which it is. And they have improved their defense capabilities significantly since 2014. There are still some gaps in those capabilities, and one can talk about where those gaps are. And we're prepared to sit down with Ukraine and look at what their needs are. They can buy things through our foreign military sales. Congress has appropriated funding for foreign military financing. So we'll deal with this in the course of normal business now and filling gaps of what Ukraine might find useful as it strengthens its defensive capabilities.
We are not taking military action to solve the Ukrainian problem. What we're doing is to mobilize the international community to apply pressure on Russia. But I think it is very important to recognize that a military solution to this problem is not going to be forthcoming. One of our other top priorities continues to be providing assistance to the government of Ukraine so it can stabilize its economy and meet the basic needs of the Ukrainian people. As I travel to Europe next week to meet with the G7 and other European and Asian allies, I once again urge Congress to pass legislation that is necessary to provide this assistance, and do it right away.